Welcome, seekers, to yet another installment of Moon Magic. Some moons just have a really clear identity. They have a really clear message. They have this focused, consistent manner, and this moon is definitely one of them. It has everything to do with Pisces season and Neptune and the dreamy, fantastical, transformational energy that Pisces brings with it. Mutable water, with the watery moon comfortably, snugly tucked away in the very smack dab center of the Pisces season. So we have a new moon on March 6th of 2019 that will be going exact around 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. It'll obviously be more like March into March 7th for those of you over in Australia. And this moon is at a beautiful 15 degrees of Pisces, right in the center of the Pisces season, of this season that's already about fantasy. It's already about us understanding mutable water and working with mutable water and diving deep into the depths. But we have this sun and moon conjunction, right? Which what makes a new moon a new moon. Not only that, Neptune is a part of this party because Neptune is at 16 degrees of Pisces. So they're within a degree of each other. So sun, moon, and Neptune are all hanging out in Pisces, having a little moment, which means that the character of this moon is greatly affected by the Neptunian Piscean way of viewing and seeing the world. What is the superpower and the presence and the intensity of Pisces? How can we utilize that? Pisces, of course, is associated with intuition, is associated with the 12th house, which is the secretive house. It's a fantasy house. Pisces is associated with dreams and with the fantastical. Pisces season and Neptune can also be associated with delusions or deception because it can become a hall of mirrors, right? What is fantasy and what is reality? And that's where I think people get a little tripped up with Pisces season. If you don't have this in your chart, or you don't have a lot of mutable energy in your chart and you're not very comfortable with what mutable energy brings, it can feel a little unstable. It can feel a little bit like you are floating in different identities and you don't know where to put your foot down, right? And I have to say, with the Sun, Moon, Neptune conjunction, we are really going all the way there. Like we're not messing around. We're not kind of doing a little light dabbling in Pisces. We are really, really, truly just going fully into this Neptunian magic. Now, the way to leverage this whole conjunction within this new moon is to understand that part of the joy of living is loving the mystery, is loving the amorphousness of it, the shape-shifting of it, the surprise of it, right? It's not about the concrete. It's not about trying to get concrete results. In fact, a lot of times when we start to get into that mindset where we send the texts we want to send, we send the emails we want to send, we create the things we want to create, we have the conversations we want to have, what we're trying to do is we're trying to wrangle the elements around us to get the result we consciously think we want or need. And there can eventually start to feel this sense of emptiness in taking each step just to get the concrete result you're after. And that's what the magic of this moon is reminding us about, because what it's telling us is that while there is a point to those deliberate actions, to those deliberate focal points, to conscious action, there is so much power in the mystery, in the subconscious, in the fantastical, and in that ascended energy work that we do. There is 100, it's hard to even fathom the amount more power is tapped into in that mystery zone, in this oceanic kind of depths that Pisces season brings up. The amount of manifestation power within that is huge, but you have to kind of understand the inherent logic of that energy, and the logic of it is to lean into the mystery of it. Now, we have another thing going on as well, because we also have Saturn and Neptune are having a conversation as well. So Saturn's getting in on this party just a little bit. They've been having this little sextile conversation, Neptune and Capricorn, for a little bit here. So it's continuing, or I'm Saturn, sorry. Saturn is in Capricorn at 18 degrees of Capricorn. So that's a sextile to the 16-degree Neptune. And it does give it a little bit of grounding, right? It gives it a little bit of that real world energy that we are kind of lacking in all the other placements of this moon, which I think still is the upside to this moon, is if we can just really dive into the fantasy. That's where the good stuff is. Dive into the mystery, right? Let go of the reins a little bit. Take a breath. But it is nice to have Saturn here, because Saturn also says, and he helps root down, that fantasy isn't just meant to be up there in fantasy. Fantasy also does trickle down into manifestation. Fantasy does also become a part of our lives, especially the more we understand that what we're fantasizing about, what we're allowing ourselves to fantasize about, becomes reality, becomes daily routine, becomes part of our legacy, and has the potential to really shift pieces around. So when they're in conversation, when Neptune and Saturn are in conversation, they work in such different ways, but they're both in their home signs, and they're both feeling very much that sense of buoyancy. I mean, and Jupiter and Sag is still over there. Jupiter isn't really aspecting anything right now, but there's 3 major outer planets in their home signs right now, and it's giving everything this sense of flow, right? Talk about flow. So there's a really beautiful thing going on there with that. Now, this new moon is also at the heart and center of some pretty big energy shifts that are quite powerful. One, we have Mercury retrograde is just beginning around this new moon. And Mercury retrograde is starting in Pisces and going back through Pisces the whole way through March, basically. And so not only do we have this fantastical, dreamy, watery moon that is forcing us to kind of get into mutable water, get into the fantastical, stop trying to control all of the outcomes, right? But we also have this Mercury retrograde, which is even more asking us not to try and force everything to happen, send every email, make every phone call, and call the shots for every single thing we've ever been wanting to do in life. In fact, this Mercury retrograde is a time for us to integrate. It is a time for us to let our dream work do a lot of the heavy lifting. Now, the connections you make and the conversations you do have during this energetic cycle are going to be extremely profound. They're going to tap into a higher level, right? Deeper conversations that you have with people that maybe you're interested in, or people that are close to you, will tap into secretive places inside of you where you may find that you are sharing of that. So you want to be gentle with everybody you're speaking with during this time, and this new moon's kind of heralding that just for this month. And the thing that I'm really loving about this dreamy, watery moon and about this Mercury retrograde in Pisces is that it's also happening all around the same time that Uranus is moving into Taurus. And that's a transit that will be lasting until 2026. We had a taste of it in 2018, and then Uranus did a little retrograde back into Aries and is now just again joining Taurus for good until 2026. So we are going to be feeling the shift and the shake there. That's happening on the 6th as well. And so we have this dreamy moon, this new moon, new beginnings, kind of seed planting, fantastical, oceanic energy meeting up with a huge kind of earth-shattering cosmic shift over. And I think there is so much masterful overarching messaging with this kind of thing, because wow, to have such a huge shift into an earth sign, into this grounded Taurus energy with this electrical, revolutionary, surprise planet of Uranus, it's a lot for our systems to take in. And that transit is going to be surprising in ways that I think we're going to have a hard time getting our heads wrapped around for a few months until we start to really feel it out. So one of the things that this moon is also doing is it's telling us, yeah, you're going to be feeling that. You're going to be feeling that shift over. You're going to be feeling that churning of the waters and that shifting of the energy. So don't worry so much. Don't worry so much about what that's going to look like and what that's going to feel like. right? Don't try and get all your answers. Let the mystery descend. Let this new transit start to bring you new things. Two of Wands already popped out. We're going to be pulling 4 cards here to feel through what this moon is all about and get the rest of the messages flowing for this new moon. I personally have a lot of fire in my chart. And I've had to do a lot of practicing and a lot of checking in to really integrate into Pisces energy. But I have to say that as I've learned more and more, and as I've expanded my ability to like see through different lenses, my appreciation for what the Piscean way and what the Neptunian way can bring you is grown immensely. And I can now say I really enjoy it. 6 of Wands. It's really interesting because these cards are giving me fire, even though this is one of the least fiery moons you'll ever see. 8 of Wands. Okay, but there is an inherent logic to this, and actually ties back to the notes I had for this new moon, which is this idea of manifestation. You know, manifest, or we're going to manifest this. We're going to be manifestors this year. We're going to manifest, right? Like you hear it all the time, constantly. Ace of Pentacles. These are all manifestation cards. All 4 of these are all about actually getting what you want in the real world and taking action in the real world. So it's really funny that I just gave you a whole rundown of how water intuition works and how water energy works and how Piscean energy works. And then we get all the action manifestation cards. But here's the thing. It's that funny thing. We think that in constantly taking action and trying to mastermind everything that goes on and force things to happen, that we're making it happen, right? And then we have this guilt complex when things aren't moving, or when we're not, you know, waking up super early and like hitting the pavement hard and making it all happen. And then it's like, well, nothing's going to happen. But what these cards are telling me and what this moon has been telling me is that actually this is where the good work happens. And there is absolutely a place and a time to get emotionally in alignment with what you want. You know, you hear that all the time. If you listen to anything in the law of attraction, they'll always be talking about things where it's about the emotional resonance. That's how you get the manifestations you want, right? This is a new moon that is absolutely all about that. I mean, look at this. 2 of Wands, 6 of Wands, 8 of Wands, Ace of Pentacles. This is about getting what you want, right? It's about asking, sending the ripples out into the world, getting the cosmic machinery to start lining up and syncing up so it can come back and meet you. This one's about getting it and feeling good and feeling celebratory and feeling triumphant. This one's about taking new risks, leaping into the future. 8 of Wands is so much about forward motion, right? We're moving forward. And it's so funny because this is not, people do not associate this with Mercury retrograde. Normally you think, oh, I'm not going to be able to get anything done. But it's that slingshot energy of like you're pulling back the slingshot so that you can, boom, go forward right into Ace of Pentacles. And I think that's the thing. Uranus and Taurus is going to be bringing us, as a collective, greater riches than we could even imagine. And part of that is this revolutionary energy. It's taking that divine feminine of Taurus, which is so much, it's deeply tied to symbolism like Isis and Inanna, the goddesses of the earth, the divine feminine energy of nurturing and manifestation in the very real physical. It's all this understanding, though, that she is tied to the heavens and that she is tied to a source of intuitive knowing that is very deeply divinely guided. And this is a great time to be reading into, you know, Isis and Inanna and concepts of resurrection and rising up from the deep, dark soil. And Uranus is here to help us revolutionize how we use divine feminine energy to create a better collective experience and to heal the earth, to heal ourselves, to heal our relationship to the mothering, nurturing principles, right? And as we do that, all this masculine forward motion energy actually has a place to work and go forward into, right? And then there's a safety in creating. So this is, on the one hand, all about our individual journeys with finding emotional resonance with what we want. And that's really what the goal is at the end of any minute, is to feel emotional resonance with your experience. Not to just get things, but to feel emotional resonance. This moon is redirecting you right back to that core principle. It's inescapable, and the more you kind of fight against it, the more it feels like you can't escape it, right? But it's also about this collective experience, and the experience we're going to have with healing and nurturing and revolutionizing our relationship to the divine feminine. So, recommendation for this moon: take it slow. Don't be trying to get your mastermind plan in your head. This is not a great new moon for vision boarding or scripting. Let the information come in and surprise you. I've been saying that a lot recently, but it's really true that we think that in scripting and writing up our schedule, that's what's going to bring everything. But this is a great moon to stay really general, stay really big with your thought process, and then the details and the insights will come in through you through fantasy, but not because you're holding it tightly. The tighter the fist, the looser the sand is a phrase that's coming to mind right now. And what we're wanting to do is we don't want to hold tightly onto that sand. We want to let it pour through. So with that being said, I think I'm going to close it out here. It's a pretty clear moon. And if you're curious, start reading into Pisces, into the 12th house, get a feeling for what that is. Pisces is, of course, deeply associated with Jesus and the fish, and the idea of being a child of God and death and resurrection, and the connection we have between all of those. The symbolism goes extremely deep, and we could just talk on and on about Pisces and what the 12th house brings to us as far as wisdom, because it's the deepest wisdom we have. Mutable water is one of the more challenging energies to get into, but once you do, depending on who you are, like I said, I've had my journey with Pisces, but once you do deep all the way in there, it is just an amazing place to play around and have fun. Now, the other thing to think about is don't jump to conclusions during this time. Don't assume anybody or anything is doing things a certain way or with an agenda, because if you're feeling fantastical and a little bit unmoored and a little bit like you don't have solid footing, imagine how everybody else is working through their process, and I guarantee you everybody is. I just finished the monthly readings, and as I was going through those, every single sign was having some kind of reconnection to a truth or to a vision that was rearranging the pieces. So we're all going to be working through. This is not a time to force anything, really, truly. I'm sending you guys so much love. You can find me on Instagram at SarahVerba, and you can also check out my website, SARAHTAROT.com, if you are looking for some inspiration or you want to book a session with me. I would love to book a session with you. Also, let me know if you guys are interested in me doing video extras for all 12 signs when it comes to the Uranus and Chiron transits that will be going on for several years moving forward. If you're interested in that, I would be really happy to produce those in March. I'll probably get those out, and then they will be really helpful guides to what that's going to be doing for each of the signs and how to utilize it and kind of things to keep in mind. So let me know if you're interested in that. You can always check out PinkLune's jewelry. I will leave her website below, and I'm sending you guys so much love. Have a beautiful, beautiful new moon in Pisces.